Hello anybody, and thanks for tuning in to Monday Morning Handicapping. This is betting on horse racing, the pick 4 and pick 5 bet. So a little agenda before we get into things. I'm going to start off with introduction. This is a new playlist. I'm going to define each bet and share my key factors when placing such bets. How this playlist came about? Well, I got a request from a YouTube user asking me how to break down my superfectas, what I look for, how I like to play them. So I thought, why not just go over all the bets? May be redundant for more experienced horse players. However, I am trying to reach out to a newer audience and teach newcomers to the game the ins and outs of the game itself. And for any of you newcomers that are watching, may I refer you to my playlist, How to Read a Racing Form. I break down each component of the racing form, talk about what it's telling you, and how you can come up with picking your own winners. After that, we're going to get into what is the pick 4 or pick 5 bet. I sort of lumped these together because I have similar theories for each bet. They're very similar, and we're going to get into that as this video goes on. But the pick 4 and the pick 5 bet, I'm going to cover both. I will define them, give you the basic structure, how to place the bet, procedure and terminology, advanced structures if necessary, and the costs associated with placing the bet. Then we're going to end up with my pick 4 or pick 5 ticket construction, what to do with sure things, morning line favorites I think are vulnerable, and we'll go over some what I call chaotic races. A few notes about this video. For the purposes of this video, the numbers used for the horse will also indicate the rank of odds in ascending order. So for example, the 1 will indicate horse number 1, as well as the lowest odds horse. So just think of even money or 1-to-1 odds. The 2 will indicate horse number 2, as well as the next lowest odds. Just think 2-to-1 odds. The 3 will be horse 3, 3-to-1 odds, and so on and so forth. In actuality, this will rarely be the case in any given race. The 1 will not always be the favorite, followed by the 2, followed by the 3, and so on. I just wanted to simplify things in these videos so that everyone knows when and where I'm using the lowest price horses, trying to find some longer shots. So it's just to simplify things for the sake of this video, but the odds will vary race to race. So what is the pick 4 or the pick 5 bet? The pick 4 or 5 bet requires the player to select the winners of 4 or 5 consecutive races. The pick 4 is usually offered with the first or second race of the day, known as the early pick 4, as well as the last 4 races of the day, known as the late pick 4. The pick 5 is usually offered with the first race of the day, the early pick 5, as well as the last 5 races of the day, the late pick 5. Some tracks, especially on big days, will offer pick 4 and pick 5s in the middle of the race card. This is pretty few and far between, but days like the Kentucky Derby, some Breeders' Cup days, and some other days sprinkled about, they will offer a pick 4 and pick 5, not on the first race or the last 4 or 5 races, but they'll throw in another 1 or 2 in the middle somewhere. Some tracks do not offer the early pick 5 and only offer an early pick 4 beginning on the first race, so check your program or check with your local track for the wagers offered as well as the minimum bet required for each race. The minimum wager amount is typically 50 cents for these bets that I've seen, but it may vary from track to track. It may be $1. Some overseas tracks have 20 cents I've seen, so just make sure that you check with your local track or in the program how much the minimum bet is for the track that you're playing. For this video, we're going to use a 50-cent minimum. These types of bets increase the payout by parlaying multiple horses and multiple races. Think of an NFL parlay where you're betting on more than one game at a time. And the pick 4 and pick 5 are one of several horizontal bets as opposed to vertical bets. Horizontal bets are bets taking place over multiple races, whereas vertical bets are taking place in a single race, such as exactas, trifectas, superfectas, etc. So taking a look at the basic structure of the pick 4 and 5 using that minimum base bet of 50 cents. For example, we have race 1, a pick 4, the 1 in race 1 with the 2 in race 2 with the 1 in race 3 with the 4 horse in race 4. This has a multiplying effect of 1 because 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 is 1 times your 50-cent base. This is a 50-cent wager to take one horse in each race with a 50-cent minimum. Another example, race 1, pick 4. In race 1, we have the 2-3 with the 3 horse in race 2 with the 2-4-5 horse in race 3. Any one of these horses can win and our bet is still alive with just the 1 horse, the favorite, in race 4. A multiplying effect of 6 because 2 horses times 1 horse times 3 horses times 1 horse in the last leg equals 6 times your 50-cent base is a $3 wager total. Another example, race 7, pick 4. Say there's 10 races on the card, 7, 8, 9, 10. Race 7, you have the 1 or the 3 to win. Race 8, you have the 2 or the 4 to win. Race 9, you have the 3 or the 4 to win. And race 10, you have the 2 or the 3 to win. A multiplying effect of 16. 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 is 16 times your 50-cent minimum. This would be an $8 wager. In a pick 4 to take 2 horses in each leg, times 16 with a 50-cent minimum, that's an $8 wager. Another example, race 1, we're starting at pick 5, so 5 races. the 2 or the 3 in the first race, with the 4 horse in the second race, with 3, 4, or 5 in the third race, with 2, 5, 6 in the fourth race, with the 1 winning the fifth and final race. Multiplying effect of 18, because 2 times 1 by 3 by 3 by 1 is 18 times your 50-cent base, a $9 wager. Race 6, another example, pick 5, 1, 4, with 2, 3, with 3, 6, with 1, 2, with 2, 4, multiplying effect of 32, 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 is 32, times your 50-cent base. This is a $16 wager. I just wanted to show everybody what taking 2 horses in each race will cost you. Either in the pick 4, it'll cost you $8, or in the pick 5, it'll cost you $16. I feel like a lot of players might think, if I can take 2 horses in each race, I feel pretty confident. So I want to give those examples, although structures will vary based on your opinion, as they should. So how to place the pick 4 or 5. I think it's good to learn how to place the bet with the cashier. This may come in handy if you're in a place like Las Vegas or an off-track betting parlor where they don't have many of the automated machines. Using the cashier just feels more engaging than the machine. You're dealing with real money, so you're handing over real money, so you see the value being exchanged. And when you get back real money, it's just a more fun feeling than getting a little bet slip back, I think, personally. I like the ATM style machines. They're just convenient, but everyone, I think, should just learn how to place a bet with another human. A tip before placing your bet, have your bets ready ahead of time. Don't stand in line unsure of what you're going to do. There's people behind you waiting, and a lot of times people are cutting it down to the last second to be able to place a wager before the race goes off. So before you get in line, know what you're going to bet, have your bets ready, be quick, get in and out, and just have common courtesy for the people behind you. But either way, the procedure is you're going to go up, you're going to tell the cashier what track you'd like to bet, the race number that your bet is on or is starting on, the bet type, the amount. This is the minimum base that you're going to be betting for a pick 5 or a pick 4, for example, and then your selections. So it might sound something like Del Mar, race number 1, a pick 5 for 50 cents, 2, 3 with 4 with 3, 5 with 2, 3, 5 with 1, 3. Every time you say with, that indicates to the teller the next race. So the 2 and the 3 in the first race, with the 4 in the next race, with the 3, 5 in third, and so on. This ticket in particular is a 2 by 1 by 2 by 3 by 2, multiplying effect of 24 times 50 cents. Hand the cashier your $12 and he'll give you your bet ticket back. Tips before betting the pick 4 or pick 5. Chalky pick 4s and pick 5s may pay less than you expect, and chalk is a term used to indicate favorites. You can look up the historical reason why it's called chalk, but chalky just means the betting favorites. Although it is a 4 or 5 race sequence, the beating the favorite is critical in earning a nice ROI. The more people that also have the same winning pick 4 or pick 5 sequence, the more people the jackpot is divided amongst, which reduces payout. You can look up what pari-mutuel wagering is and how it works to figure out why this is the case. But when a lot of favorites win in the pick 4 or pick 5 sequence, the payout may be disappointing and less than especially some of the newcomers to the game might expect. It is wise to find a separator horse or to go against the favorite when your handicapping leads you there. Find a horse that a smaller portion of the overall bettors will have on their tickets. Basically long shots. If you take all favorites, everybody else is probably going to have most of those favorites on their ticket. Therefore, the pick 4 or pick 5 is not going to pay very well. If you can find a nice long shot, and a long shot indicates that not a lot of people are betting on that horse, especially or in particularly to win, and that horse does win and it's on your pick 4 or 5 ticket, a lot of people's tickets will be eliminated, and that means a lot less people are going to get paid out the jackpot in the pick 4 or pick 5 pool. That means more money to you when you can get those separator horses. Another tip, consider the races around your strong pick of the day. So this could lead you to single a race, which means take only one horse in that race, and which does not multiply the cost of the ticket. So if your favorite horse of the day, the horse that you think is most likely to win, is in race 3, look at races 1, 2, 4, and 5 and see if you can construct a pick 4 or pick 5 ticket around that top pick of the day and just single that top pick. Ask yourself if it's strong enough to be singled, but consider the races around that strong pick in order to build a pick 4 or pick 5 ticket. This, of course, is assuming you look at all the races at a particular track on a day and not just that one given race, so you know the horses and the races before and after your strong pick. Along with potential win bets on your strongest plays of the day, can you construct a pick 4 or 5 for a reasonable total price? If the price of the pick 4 or 5 that you come up with is $60 or more and you'd rather just bet $10 on your sure thing to win, by all means go that way. But if you can construct a pick 4 or pick 5 ticket around that and single that horse, you might be able to make a nice ticket for a nice price and pick some winners around it and get a nice return. My personal considerations for playing the pick 4 or pick 5. Where's my surest win contender on the day? It kind of goes back to the last slide. Do I feel comfortable singling my top pick of the day? How strong do I feel? If I don't have a real strong pick on the day, maybe just pass the pick 4, pick 5 altogether. What are the odds of my single? If my odds on my top pick of the day are 5 to 1 or higher, I'm more likely to include mediocre favorites around it. So for example, let's say in a pick 5, my ticket looks like 1-3-4 with 2-3-4 with, here's my top pick, the 6 in race 3, which is considered 6 to 1 for the purposes of this video, so kind of a long shot, with 1-3 with 1-2. This is a total ticket cost of $18, and I am including favorites in 3 of 5 races because I know if this 6 wins at 6 to 1, I don't want to miss out on my ticket if one of these favorites, either in the first race here, the 4th race, or the 5th race, end up beating me, even if I don't like them too strongly, but I think they could win, and I'd like other horses on top. I'd hate to lose to a morning line favorite if my 6 to 1 comes in. So if they seem like they could win, even though I'm not a strong proponent of them, I might include them on tickets if my top pick of the day is, say, 5 to 1, 6 to 1, or higher. If odds are below 5 to 1, I will not include perceived mediocre favorites around it. And there's kind of a gauging that you're going to have to do personally. I'm speaking generally, will not include, but you're going to have to gauge how strongly you feel about the favorites around the horse. For example, a pick 5 might look like 1-2 with 2-3 with 3. Here's my strong pick of the day, 3 to 1. So not the favorite, but not quite a long shot. I wouldn't consider. Third choice in the betting with 2-4 with 1-4, an $8 ticket with my strong pick, the 3 singled. Favorites in 2 of 5 of the races. And so in race number 1 and race number 5, I've included the favorites, not in race 2 or 4. I just think they're mediocre, and I don't want to expand the cost of my ticket, including some favorites that I think don't have a great chance of winning. But also in race number 1, I would include this favorite if, say, the betting odds, because you can see the first race win odds. If the one was being bet heavily by the public, I'd be more inclined to add it on a ticket like this, even if my top pick was the 2, just because the public opinion is that this one has a real good chance of winning. So I don't want to miss out, and the ticket's only $8, and I do have that tote board or the win odds available to me as a tool. If the public really is betting the one strongly, I will include it. But then again, I'm only adding one more favorite, $8 ticket. If I lose it, not a big deal, but also going to include the one in this 5th race because I do think it has a good chance of winning, and I don't totally dislike it. Adding horses I don't feel have a strong chance of winning increase the cost and thus reduce your ROI. So I could add more favorites in the 2nd race and the 4th race, but that's going to jump my ticket up and end up costing $18 if I were to add the favorite in the 2nd race and the 4th race, and I still would need to get this 3 to 1 third choice in the betting to win. So $18 when my top pick is just 3 to 1. I'd have to really weigh how strongly I'd like the rest of the races, but typically with a horse that's somewhat of a favorite, not quite long odds, I like to keep my ticket prices a little lower. What horses appear to be heavily used on most people's tickets regardless of odds? So look for popular trainers, jockeys, etc., and consider if the odds of that horse versus perceived chances of winning are worth including. So for example, at Golden Gate Fields, a trainer like Jonathan Wong, I just know a lot of people are going to see that trainer and just include his horse regardless of the odds. It might be 12 to 1 on the morning line, but in pick 4s and pick 5s, it might play more like a 6, 7, 8 to 1, just because I know people are going to see the name and want to include that horse and not let a Jonathan Wong horse beat them out of a pick 4 or 5. Same thing with jockeys. Top jockeys at the track, a lot of people are going to include them on long, even if that jockey's riding a long shot that looks hopeless. A 50 to 1 with a top jockey might play more like 20, 25 to 1. Nice return still, but your odds will be deflated when it comes to the payout if a real popular trainer or jockey is on a horse, regardless of odds. So consider if the horse has a good chance to win, and if it is long odds with a good jockey, that's certainly a positive, and I would consider using. I'd also ask myself, why is the jockey riding this horse when maybe he had the opportunity to ride a seemingly more talented horse in the race? But just something to think about. Leading trainers and jockeys will be popular on many people's tickets. Higher morning line odds in later races may pay dividends. This kind of integrates with the last point. But if there's a 10 to 1 horse in the 5th race, the last race of a pick 5, it's going to play probably longer than that just because it's going to be such a long shot. A lot of people that maybe aren't clued in are not going to include that horse on their ticket. So even if that race comes around and that horse is bet down to 5 to 1, that horse still may play more like a 10 to 1, maybe even a 15 to 1, depending on if you can catch a long shot or two early on in the sequence. That horse will play longer just because it's knocked out so many people. Another consideration, which morning line favorites do I think are vulnerable? Beating the favorite always increases your payout. I might take 2 to 4 horses in the race that I'm not keen on the favorite depending on my own discernment, my own handicapping, how much I think the horses actually have a chance to win. So for example, let's say I'm doing a pick 4. I have the 2, 3, 4 in the first race, so 3 horses without the favorite, with 2, 3, 4 in the second race, 3 horses without the favorite. Gonna single the favorite in the third race. I just think it's basically a sure thing to win. And then the 1, 4, 5 in the fourth race. I'm adding the favorite, but I also like the 4-1 and a 5-1 as well. 3 by 3 by 1 by 3 is a $13.50 bet. Pretty reasonable. Top pick is a single, but I think I can beat the favorite in the first 2 races, 2, 3, 4 with 2, 3, 4, and possibly the fourth. But I'm going to include the favorite in that fourth race. I think it can win, but I also think I might have a chance to beat it with some others. So I'm not going to single the favorite in the fourth race if I don't think it's that strong of a contender. Can I beat the favorite in the other legs of the pick 4 or 5? Don't toss multiple favorites just because you want to beat them. Include favorites in other legs if they are formidable, but no need to single them. Like my ticket above, I have the favorite, but I'm not singling it in the fourth race. I'm including the 4 and 5, which I think also have a good chance to win, and thus, because they're longer shots, increase my return if the bet wins. So for example, pick 4, 2, 3 with 1, 2 with 6, my single 6-1 here with 1, 3, 5, 6. So I have the favorite in the second leg, but I'm also taking another horse. The favorite in the fourth leg, but I'm also taking a couple of other prices with it. 2 by 2 by 4 is an $8 wager total. I included 2 favorites in case the 6-1 single wins. Again, if my single is 6-1, I don't want to miss out because I tossed a favorite that I thought could win, but I wanted to keep my ticket cheap because if this 6-1 wins, even if a favorite wins 1 or 2 of these races, and I get this 2 or this 3 in the first, it should still pay pretty decently because a 6-1 pays very well in these 4 or 5 race sequences. Which races in the pick 4 or 5 sequence do I feel are the most and least chaotic? Races for younger horses, maidens, those are horses that have never won before, the non-winners of 2 races lifetime condition, so horses that have only won 1 race, or just low-level classes where horses have a low win percentages, can be difficult to confidently pick a winner. You'll see a lot of these races throughout the country, and these are just races that I feel invite chaos, meaning pretty much anyone can win, so you really have to sift through who has some talent and who really just is a total toss. Even if there is a standout in a low-level race, it might be wise to ask yourself who that horse beat in their previous races. Was this horse just beating up on way inferior horses, or was he competing with some other horses that belong at the level this horse is racing at, and this horse is still beating him soundly? Why the standout horse is still running for lower levels, or if the standout horse is taking a slight step up in class, are there other horses in the race that have been close to winning in slightly higher classes? So maybe you see a horse that looks like a standout, it's even money, but he's facing some other horses that haven't won in a while, but they've been close to winning in higher level races. Maybe those horses just need a slight drop in competition in order to win. So maybe that's a time to go against the even money favorite that looks good on paper, but compared to the other horses that have been racing against tougher competition coming down to meet this standout, maybe it's a little more on the same level, and some of those longer shots have a better chance or as good of a chance of winning as that even money standout horse. Higher class races usually have horses that perform with more consistency at a determined level of ability. These races might seem more competitive overall because all the horses look good on paper, but if you look closely and thoroughly enough, I feel these higher class races can be narrowed down to a smaller number of horses, though it may be more time consuming because there are less horses easier to toss out of your ticket than horses in the lower level races. So you might see horses that have won 3 of their last 4 races, horses that have won 6 of their last 10, but you'll start to distinguish horses that are facing some of the best horses in the country versus horses that are facing the best horses from their area versus horses that are running way better on one particular surface or distance, and they're performing very well in their segmented kind of race. But when you really dig down, you can see which horse it just relishes today's distance, today's track, has been beating tougher competition. And again, I think these higher class races with these higher class horses, if you look long enough, a couple of them are going to stand out as just being heads above some other really talented runners, but just are facing the best of the best and performing well. And these higher end horses just run more consistently. You pretty much know what you're going to get, and they usually don't throw in a total perplexing what was that kind of race. You usually know what you're going to get, and they usually perform to their standards that you see on the paper. Pick 4 or 5 takeaways. Selecting winners of more races means greater risk and volatility. Start any and all wagers with a plan, idea, or strong opinion. Take advantage of cheaper minimums, that 50-cent minimum, and cover yourself based on your opinion. Again, don't take favorites you think are poor, and don't toss favorites that you think are formidable. Find your key horse or horses to base your pick 4 or 5 around, or find your angle, such as that vulnerable favorite angle. Big favorites tend to play shorter in the sequence because many people will also use that horse, and many use it as a free square. So if there's a big favorite, maybe he's below even money odds, 1 to 5, and you take multiple horses in that race and then the favorite wins, you've just paid extra money to include some of those long shots, and that 1 to 5 horse is basically hardly going to contribute to your return on investment because basically anybody playing the sequence also had that horse, so there's no separator. Everybody still has their pick 4 ticket in their pocket after a big favorite wins. Long shots in the pick 4 or pick 5 sequence tend to play larger because of the cost to add more horses in the sequence and the compounding effect of less people using that horse. So when people put out their pick 5 ticket, they look at it, they tend to like it. They're probably not going to go back and see a 20 to 1 morning line horse that they just add on just because it's going to add cost to their ticket, and it's 20 to 1 on the morning line. It looks bad to many people, but if you're a sharp handicapper, you might find a 20 to 1 shot that actually has a better chance of winning than those odds indicate, and you will be the one to include it on your ticket. And the day that it wins and the rest of your race comes through, you're going to go home very happy. Keep your cost to a minimum. Can you find a single? Anytime you go from selecting 1 horse in a race to selecting 2 horses, you double your ticket cost. So for example, the pick 4, if you go 2 horses in the first race, buy 2 in the second, buy 2 in the third, buy 2 in the fourth, it's an $8 ticket, whereas 2 by 2 by 1 by 2 is a $4 ticket. So in this third race, you have 1 horse, but if you add 1 more horse, it just doubles your ticket. Anytime you have a single and add 1 horse, it's going to double your ticket no matter how many horses you have in the other races. Another example of a pick 4 ticket where you just single a horse and you can see how cheap it is. 3 horses in the first race, buy 3 horses in the second, buy your single, buy 2 in the last. This is a $9 ticket compared to the one above where you took 2 in each. If you can find a single, you can add 1 horse in 2 more races. Maybe a long shot, that 20 to 1 I talked about you like, added in one of these, and you're paying $1 more, but you have better chances to be alive to your strong pick of the sequence, and more chances to hit a long shot early, and you have 2 horses in the last race. So you can see how singling a horse really reduces the cost of your ticket. Pick 4s and pick 5s are great bets to split with friends. It's really fun to go to the track and split a ticket with some friends. It reduces the individual cost. So this $9 ticket, if you go with 2 other friends, $3 each. Everyone gets a chance to share their picks. You all look at the form, take the horses you like. Maybe all 3 of you like the same horse in one race. Well, there's your single. And then you can spread elsewhere to try to catch some long shots. This is also a chance to split a nice ROI, less cost per head with more horses and long shots in the mix. If some of those long shots come in, you've spent less money and the return can be really, really nice the more long shots that you get to win in your sequence. If your ticket is cheap in the end and you feel confident, feel free to repeat the bet, play it again, or play for a higher minimum. Don't just use that 50-cent minimum. Feel free to play it for $1 or $2 depending on what you want. Just keep in mind that multiplying factor. End the video always on a public service announcement. Learn as much as you can before placing any wagers. Study, read, make picks without betting and see how it goes. Do your due diligence, familiarize yourself with handicapping, and see some positive results before actually wagering. Start small and simple. Don't wager any money you can't afford to lose. Don't overcomplicate your wagers. Bet primarily based on your own handicapping. No last second changes. Too many times to recall, but I'll spend all night doing my homework, looking at the race card, and then for whatever reason, the last second, I make a little switch, and wouldn't you know it, the horse that I took off my ticket ends up winning. I do not advise last second changes unless you have a really compelling reason. Maybe the horse you like is acting up on the track. But if you've done your homework, stick with it and see how it goes, and then learn from your mistakes if your homework turned out to not produce any fruit, I guess. Have convictions in your selections and structure. Again, when you handicap the races, bet according to what you saw and who you like. If exotic wagering becomes too pricey with lowered confidence, go back to win bets or know when to pass the race entirely and just not bet. Don't expect to win or make money in horse racing. Keep it fun and have your spending limits. Get rewarded for your educated guess. I swear, even betting $2 on a horse and watching it win, watching the race play out like you envisioned in your head after reading the racing form is a very satisfying feeling, and I guarantee you'll get a thrill. Consider all wagering as your cost of admission. Again, I always say going to the baseball park, going to an MLB game. I just consider myself spending at least $200 with parking, tickets, concessions, all that jazz. at least at the track, I've done my homework. I enjoy the process of handicapping, so that's a positive. Go to the track, bring $100. If I leave with $100 or more, that's just an added little bonus. Whereas you go to a baseball game, unless you're in a state where it's legal, no chance of really winning any money. So just consider all wagering that you might lose at the track. Again, keep your limits, but any money lost, just consider it your cost of admission to a day out at the track. So that wraps up this video. I hope it made sense to everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to give me feedback. I read all the comments so far. But yeah, thanks for watching. Share this video and this playlist and my channel with friends, especially those friends that maybe you think might be interested in horse racing, know very little about it. Like, subscribe, share. Much appreciated. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you next time.